Welcome back. We are in Studio 61 now. Some parents have been trying to figure out how to talk to their children about the Israel-Hamas war. Many are trying to make sense of how to explain to children what they're seeing and what they're hearing. So this morning, once again, we are joined by Dr. Laura Saunders from the Hartford Institute of Living. Dr. Laura Saunders, thank you so much for being with us.
Thank you, Erica.
So where do we start? I mean, this is such a confusing issue for the kids. We don't really know how to bring it up. Should we bring it up? Help us out here.
So I think we start with developmental levels, right? Young children need much less information and much more concrete information than, middle school or high school age children. I also think it's really important to look at your own feelings on this. People who have a greater sense of connection, perhaps they're Jewish or Arab or they have family in Israel or they know friends in Israel, they're going to have more of a sense of connection to some of these things, and so therefore their feelings are going to be much more intense. So to check your feelings first before you start asking questions, find out what your kids know, right? So find out what they know. They may know a little bit, they may know nothing, before you start asking a lot of questions.
Now you say find out what they know, but also maybe what they've seen, because there are so many graphic images out there, and that can really bring up a lot of questions and concerns for the kids.
Yes, and I think that's where it's important in times like this to sort of turn off the TV that's in the kitchen all the time and all the images, because those images really become embedded in people's minds, certainly in children's minds. So being aware of, the things that they're seeing and the questions that they have, and then I think it's really important to answer their questions. So if they have a question, you find out what they know, they have a question, you answer the question, but that you don't provide a lot of additional information that's going to make them feel more anxious when they really don't have control over a lot of this.
I think one of the questions probably the hardest to answer coming from kids when they know what is happening, when they've heard about some of these horrific details is why? How can certain people do certain things that are so violent and, we're talking about death and destruction, really awful details.
I think it's hard for all of us to imagine why, right? Those of us that are caring, concerned members of families and school communities and towns and other communities, we don't understand. I can't even wrap my mind around why there's such destruction. So honestly, we don't even need to go there. I think it's refocusing on what we do have control over, right? We have control over making good decisions every day, being kind to the people around us, having some gratitude for the things that are happening in our lives, and not trying to put ourselves in that place, because that just becomes very scary and creates a lot of anxiety.
And one thing to keep in mind is our kids might have friends who are more affected by this than our kids. And it's really about teaching them how to be sensitive and how they can help their friends who are really struggling, maybe more than them.
Right. It's about validating feelings, right? Listening to your friend's sharing a concern, and then what's great is that your kids come back and say, yes, my friend John is really worried about this situation. You said, okay, well, how did you respond to John, right? So you do a little role play, because now you're listening and you're validating their feelings, because we want them to be kind and caring people.
Right. Really, really helpful. Laura, thanks so much. Appreciate it.
Thank you.
Always great to have you on the show.